My husband kicked me out for being too local, but froze when my billionaire father came to pick me up. My wonderful family, please, before I go deeper into this touching story, kindly subscribe, like, and share. It helps this channel grow and keeps the love for African stories shining bright. Hello, my wonderful friends, and welcome to my channel. Please, grab a cup of tea or a snack, because today, I want to share my own story with you. About love, betrayal. My name is Favour King, I'm 26 years old. This is the story of how my life fell apart and then came back together in a way I never, ever expected. It all started, as so many things do, when I was young and full of hope. I was doing my NYSC program, the one-year mandatory service, right here in Lagos, is a city of dreams, a city of hustle, and I was another face in the crowd, excited about the future. That's when I met Ben. When I first saw him, my heart, it did a little flip. He was part of the same NYSC set, and everyone was talking about him. Ben came from a very, very poor family. I'm talking about real, genuine hardship. But my goodness, was he a brilliant man. He was the definition of bright, and his mind was electric. He had won scholarships all his life, from primary school right through to university. He had a first-class degree, and you could feel the ambition coming off him. It was like a fire. He was determined to make it, and honestly, I found that incredibly attractive. I've always admired people with drive. We started talking. Hello, how was your day? At the NYSC Secretariat. Soon, that turned into long walks, sharing roasted corn by the roadside, and talking for hours about our dreams. He told me about his struggles, the nights he studied by candlelight, the shame he felt not having what other kids had. I told him about my family. And Ben, he seemed to love that. Favour, you're so real. You're the most genuine person I've ever met. He'd look at me with these eyes, we'd see each other every day, and that spark just grew brighter. The problem, as he saw it, was his background. He was so ashamed of his poverty. He'd say, Favour, I have nothing to offer you. My family has nothing. And I'd just hold his hand and say, Ben, you have you. You have that big, brilliant brain and that strong heart. That's more than enough for me. I truly meant it. After our NYSC year finished. And it hit Ben hard. Even with a first-class degree, getting a good job in this country, it's not just about what you know, it's about who you know. He was brilliant, yes, but he was getting so frustrated, going to interview after interview and getting nowhere. He was sinking into a dark place, and it hurt me to see his spark dimming. He was so brilliant, and nobody would give him a chance. One evening, he was just silent, staring at the wall. He said, maybe I'm just meant to be poor, Favour. Maybe this is it. I couldn't stand it. So, I did something. I went home and I talked to my father. I said, Daddy, there's this man. He's the smartest person I know. Needs a chance. Do you know anyone? My father, he's a very quiet and observant man. He just looked at me, smiled a little, and said, give me his CV. I told Ben I'd asked my dad to put in a good word. Ben didn't think much of it. He thought my dad was just some comfortable, retired director. The next week, Ben got a call. It was from one of the biggest oil and gas companies in the entire country. They wanted him for an interview, for a big job. A management trainee position that usually went to expatriates. He was stunned. And, he nailed the interview, of course. He was brilliant. All he needed was the door to be opened. That job, it changed everything. Suddenly, Ben was big man. He was earning a salary he'd only dreamed of. He got a nice company flat, a company car. And oh, he was so grateful. He treated me like a queen. Our relationship, as I wrote in my little diary, became more effective. It was stronger. He saw me as his good luck charm, his angel. He'd tell everyone, I wouldn't be here without Favour. One beautiful evening, about 6 months after he started his new job, he took me to a fancy restaurant. I was happy to be with him. He was nervous all night, I could tell. Then, after dinner, he got down on one knee. Right there in the middle of the restaurant. I started crying. Favour King, you saved my life. You saw a king in me when I was a beggar. Will you marry me? Please, be my wife. My friends, what could I say? I screamed, yes, 1,000 times. We got married in a beautiful ceremony. My family, being comfortable, took care of everything. His family was there, looking so proud, and I was the happiest woman alive. I thought, married life was beautiful at first. We were so happy. And then, after 1 year and 6 months of marriage, God blessed us with the most beautiful gift. We had a daughter, and we named her Angel. She was a little piece of heaven, and she had her father's bright, intelligent eyes. I settled into being a mother, and my world revolved around my little girl and my husband. I was so content. And Ben. Oh, my goodness. Ben's rise at the company was like a rocket. He was now one of the wealthiest young men in our country. He was sharp, he was ruthless in business, and he was making a lot of money. He was finally the man he always wanted to be. And that, my friends, is when things started to change. It wasn't overnight. It was slow, like a tap drip. He started traveling more. It's for business, baby. For us. For Angel's future. He started coming home later. He was on his phone all the time, smiling at texts, and quickly hiding the screen when I walked in. He started behaving somehow. The first time he really, properly hurt me, I'll never forget it. We were invited to a big company gala. I was so excited. I spent weeks designing the most beautiful traditional outfit, a gorgeous, complete with a stunning. I felt like a queen. When I came out, ready to go, Ben looked at me. Not with love. Was it irritation? Favour, he said, and his voice was cold. You're wearing that. I was confused. Yes, Ben. It's beautiful, isn't it? He sighed, a loud, frustrated sound. Favour, this is a high-class event. People will be in Armani, in Gucci. You're going to show up looking like you just came from the village. My friends, when I tell you my blood ran cold. Village, I said, my voice trembling. Ben, this is our culture. It's beautiful. He shook his head. It's not my culture anymore, Favour. I'm an international businessman. I need a wife who looks the part. You're just too local. Local. That word. He spat it out like it was poison. He made me go upstairs and change into a simple black dress I owned. I cried all the way to the gala. I felt small, and ugly, and ashamed. And he didn't speak to me all night. After that night, the distance between us became a canyon. He moved into the guest room. I have early meetings, he'd say. I don't want to wake you an angel. But I wasn't stupid. Then, the whispers started. People talk. People begin notice it, as the saying goes. My friends started calling me, their voices full of pity. Favour, are you okay? Favour, I saw Ben at the new hotel. Favour, who is this lady on his arm? He wasn't just cheating, my friends. He was flaunting it. Ben King never hid it, he didn't hide it at all. He made it open. There was this one lady, a beautiful tall lady, just as the gossip blog said. She was everything. She was very tall, very light-skinned, and she only wore designer clothes. She was an Instagram model, and suddenly, she was all over Ben's Instagram. They were in Dubai. They were in Paris. They were on yachts, drinking champagne. And me, I was at home, changing Angel's diapers, my heart breaking into a million tiny pieces every time I opened my phone. The humiliation was a physical pain. He was telling the whole world that his wife, the mother of his child, was not good enough. You'd think that would be the worst part, wouldn't you? The public cheating. No, the worst part was what came next. Ben, in his new arrogance, started rewriting our history. He started telling people, his new, slick, wealthy friends, a new story about us. And that story, it got back to me. A friend told me what she heard him say at a party. She said, "Favour, I had to tell you. Ben was there with that woman. And he was laughing. He told everyone, oh, Favour. I had to marry her. It was a business deal. Her father got me my first job. I had to marry the daughter to seal the deal. She's so local, so traditional. God, I can't stand it. But what could I do? I needed the connection." He told them. He married me for my father's wealth. He was painting me as some local girl he was forced to marry to get ahead. He was taking our love story, the days we shared roasted corn and dreams, and twisting it into a cold, hard transaction. He was erasing me. He was erasing the love, the support, the genuine heart I gave him when he had nothing. That, my friends, that broke me in a way that cheating never could. He wasn't just betraying our marriage, he was betraying our entire past. He was betraying the man I thought he was. I couldn't breathe. This was not the Ben I married. This was a monster. I called him, and I was crying so hard I could barely speak. "My dear friend," I choked out, "that's what I used to call him. How can you? How can you say these things? How can you lie about us? Think of Angel. Ben, please, remember us. Remember how we started, crying on the phone about your job interviews. Remember how we promised, forever." I was begging. I was on my knees in my bedroom, pleading with this man to remember the love we shared. And his voice, oh, God, it was so cold. He refused. There was no, "I'm sorry. It's a misunderstanding." There was silence. Then he said, "Favour, you need to stop this. You're being hysterical. That part of my life is over. I am a different man now. I have a new life, a new standard. And you don't fit in. I need a woman who reflects my status, not you." He hung up. He just hung up the phone. I sat there, on the floor, the phone in my hand, and I realized, the man I married was gone. He was dead. And this new, cold, wealthy man had taken his place. I didn't see him for a week. He didn't come home. I just stayed in Angel's room, holding my baby, trying to figure out what to do. I was in a daze. Part of me was still hoping he'd walk in, fall to his knees, and apologize. Part of me was still that girl from NYSC who was in love with a brilliant, driven man. Then, one day, he came home. It was the middle of the afternoon. I wasn't expecting him. He didn't come to apologize. He came with 2 security guards I'd never seen before. He didn't even look at me. He just pointed. I'll give you 1 hour, Favour. Pack a bag for you and the child. I want you out of my house. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Ben, what are you talking about? This is our home. This is Angel's home. He laughed. A short, sharp, ugly sound. This is my house, Favour. I paid for it. My name is on the deed. And I am done. I cannot be fused with you anymore. I think he meant, I cannot be with you, or, I refuse. His English was getting arrogant. I cannot look at you. You're a chain around my neck. You're holding me back. This is my final decision. I was frozen. I couldn't move. One of the security guards stepped forward and said, "Madam, please. Don't make this difficult." Ben just stood there, arms crossed, tapping his foot. He was looking at his watch. His watch. Like I was an inconvenience he had to schedule. I ran to Angel's room, my hands shaking so badly I could barely pack. I threw diapers, wipes, a few outfits for her, a few things for me into a suitcase. I was sobbing, and my little girl, she saw me crying and she started crying, too. I walked back out into the living room, holding my daughter, dragging one suitcase. Ben just looked at me with pure disgust. My husband, the father of my child, looked at me like I was trash. "Ben, please," I whispered one last time. "Don't do this." He just walked to the door and held it open. "Get out." And so, Ben kicked me with my own child out for the house. The security guards walked me to the gate. I was standing on the pavement, on the street, holding my baby, with one suitcase at my feet. The giant metal gates of my home slammed shut in front of me. I was homeless. I stood there on the street for, I don't know how long. People were walking by. Cars were driving past. They were staring at this woman, crying, holding a baby and a suitcase. The shame was so thick I could barely breathe. What do I do? Where do I go? I had no money on me, just my phone. I had only one place to go. With trembling fingers, I called my dad. He picked up on the first ring. "Favour. My dear, what's wrong? You sound terrible." I broke. "Daddy." I wailed, "Daddy." He kicked me out. Ben kicked me and Angel out of the house. I'm on the street. The line was silent for just 1 second. But it was a heavy silence. A dangerous silence. Then my father's voice came back, and it was calmer than I'd ever heard it. It was like ice. "Where are you, Favour? Give me the address. Stay exactly where you are. Don't move. I am coming to pick you up." I gave him the address, and the line went dead. I just huddled over Angel, trying to shield her, and I waited. I was returned back to my father's house, or at least, I was about to be. About 15 minutes later, I heard it. Not one car. A convoy. A sleek, black, Mercedes Maybach pulled up silently in front of me, followed by 2 black G-Wagons. My friends. I knew my family was comfortable. And successful. I did not know the scale. Ben was inside, probably watching from the window, laughing with his new girlfriend. I saw the curtain twitch. Then, my father got out of the back of the Maybach. Ben, I'm sure, was expecting my comfortable, retired director, dad to show up in his Toyota. But the man who got out was not just Favour's dad. It was Favour King, the billionaire mogul, the man whose picture is on the cover of Forbes Africa, the man who quietly owns half of the biggest companies in this country. Ben, he had no idea. He knew my father helped him, but he thought my father was just some Mr. King with connections. He never ever put it together. I saw the curtain fly back. The front door of the house burst open, and Ben came running out. He was frozen. His face was white as a sheet. His jaw was on the floor. He was stuttering. "Sir. Mr. King. Sir, it's a misunderstanding. Favor, baby, what are you doing? Let's go back inside." He was sweating, terrified. He finally understood. My father didn't even look at him. He walked straight to me. He gently took Angel from my arms, kissed her head, and handed her to one of his security detail, who put her safely in the car. Then he took my suitcase. He just looked at me, his eyes soft for me, and said, "Let's go home, my daughter." He ushered me into the Maybach. Ben was still babbling, "Sir, please. I love her. It was a mistake. A misunderstanding." My father he held up one hand. He didn't raise his voice. He just looked at Ben for the first time, his eyes as cold as a grave. "You will be hearing from my lawyers," he said. That was all. He got in the car, and the door shut silently. As we pulled away, I looked back. Ben was on his knees. On the pavement. Broken. He finally realized. He hadn't just kicked out his local wife. He had insulted the daughter of the man who owned his entire world. "My parents are not happy," is the understatement of the century. My mother cried. My father was quiet. And that, I've learned, is when he is most dangerous. But he's a man of order. My parents tried to make peace, in their own way. My father called Ben for one meeting at our house. Ben showed up, shaking, looking like a ghost. My father said, "Ben, I gave you your career. My daughter gave you her heart. And you, in return, called her local, and threw her and my granddaughter onto the street." Ben started to cry. "Sir, I didn't know, was you." And my father's face just hardened. "That," he said, "is the problem. You thought she was nobody. And so you treated her like nothing. The meeting is over. You will, Ben, in his stupidity, get what I did for him." I think he meant, he forgot what I did for him. He thought his wealth was his own. He didn't realize he was just a manager in my father's empire. But he was about to find out. Before you know it, Ben had remarry, or at least, the beautiful tall lady was still around. He tried to cling to her, to his new life. He was arrogant. He thought he could fight my father. He thought he had his own money. His house was built on cards. The next day, Ben went to work. Or he tried to. His access card was declined. The CEO, a man who used to bow to Ben, met him at the lobby. "Ben," he said, "I'm sorry. We've had a call from the board. Your services are no longer required. Security will escort you out." Ben was fired. Then, he went to the bank to get his millions. His accounts were frozen. Why? Because all his wealth was in company stock options and bonuses, stock options in a company my father was the majority shareholder of. Those options were revoked due to gross personal misconduct. In 48 hours, Ben King went from being a wealthy man to having exactly zero. And, beautiful tall lady. The moment she realized the money was gone, poof. She vanished like smoke. I was back in my father's house, safe with my daughter. I was healing. I was surrounded by love. And I was angry. Not just sad. How dare he? How dare he use me, humiliate me, and throw me away like trash? My father's lawyers came to see me. They were the best in the country. They said, "Mrs. King, or perhaps, Ms. King, your father has instructed us to handle this." I looked at them, and I felt a strength I never knew I had. "I want a divorce," I said. "I want to file. For adultery, for cruelty, for desertion. I want everything." I filled for divorce. And let me tell you, my parents' lawyer team, they were not playing. They built a case that was airtight. They had pictures of his adultery, witnesses to his cruelty. They had the financial statements showing that everything he got after marrying me, and through my family. He had come into this marriage with nothing but a scholarship degree. He was about to leave with even less. I was no longer the crying, begging woman on the phone. I was Favour King. And I was taking my life, and my daughter's future, back. The day of final in the court arrived. I was so nervous. But my mother held my hand, and my father walked behind me. When I walked into that courtroom, I held my head high. I was wearing a power suit. My hair was done. I probably looked more sophisticated than he'd ever seen me. And Ben. He was on the other side of the room. He looked terrible. He was thin, his suit was rumpled. He was alone. His tall lady was gone. His slick friends were gone. He had a cheap lawyer who looked terrified. He tried to fight. Can you believe the nerve? He tried to claim I was the problem. He said I was too local, not supportive of his new status. His lawyer tried to argue that Ben had built his wealth himself. My lawyer just smiled. He stood up and, one by one, he laid out the facts. Fact: Mr. King was given his job at this company. A company where Ms. King's father holds a 40% stake. Fact: the house Mr. King claims as his was financed by a bank, where Ms. King's father sits on the board of directors. Fact: Mr. King has been photographed in public with no less than 3 different women in the last 6 months, while his wife was at home caring for their infant child. The courtroom was silent. Ben sank in his chair. The judge didn't even need to deliberate for long. He came back, and his face was stern. He looked at Ben with such disappointment. He granted the divorce on all grounds. Adultery. Cruelty. Then he got to the settlement. Ben's lawyer was asking for half of the marital property. The judge just scoffed. He said, "What property?" "The property you acquired through your wife's family, which you then used to humiliate her." "I don't think so." And then, the final judgment. "I win everything. The house. It was to be immediately sold, with 100% of the proceeds put into a trust fund for Angel, which I would manage. His frozen bank accounts. They were to be liquidated, with the majority going to child support and alimony. His pension, his shares, all gone. The judge awarded me full custody of our daughter. Ben got nothing. He got to keep the rumpled suit he was wearing. He was left with exactly what he started with, nothing. The gavel fell. It was over. I let out a breath I felt like I'd been holding for a year. I felt light. I stood up, and my parents hugged me. I was free. And Ben go out of the courtroom, with shame and disgrace. He was gray. He looked like a ghost. He looked at me, one last time, from across the room. His eyes were desperate. He was pleading. He was probably, finally, seeing the woman he'd thrown away. He was seeing the girl from NYSC who loved him for him. And he had destroyed the only good thing that had ever happened to him. I held my father's arm, and I turned my back. I didn't give him the satisfaction of another tear. I just walked out, into the sunshine, with my head held high. So, my dear friends, that's my story. It's been a hard road, but I'm here. Angel is thriving. She's beautiful and happy. And me, I'm working now. I'm helping to run my father's charitable foundation. I'm helping young people, like Ben once was, who are brilliant and just need a chance. But we're teaching them about character, too. About gratitude. About integrity. And this is the good advice I want to leave with you, especially for the men who might be watching. Men should not enter marriage because of the money of the lady. Do not marry for connections. Do not marry for status. Because if you do, you will never value the person you are married to. You will see them as a ladder, and when you think you've reached the top, you'll try to kick them away. But, as Ben learned, sometimes that ladder you're kicking, it's the only thing holding you up. Never let anyone make you feel local for being who you are. Your culture, your background, your realness, that is your superpower. That is your royalty. Ben thought I was local. He didn't realize I was a king. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more inspiring African tales. Your support means the world to me, and it helps me continue sharing stories that touch hearts and change lives.